And I wanted to tell you guys about the two biggest power trips I've had in my life and how I learned that strippers from Baltimore are like the nicest people on the planet. So, that's where I'm from. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I moved to Philly to go to school. Had to take a year off to go back just because of financial aid stuff. So I decided, you know what, I'll get a job, I'll make some money, and I'll go back so I won't, I have a little money for rent, I won't have to go into debt. So, long story short, that part of the story anyway, finding a job in Baltimore is really, really hard if you want to work for someone sane. Like, I worked briefly for this car dealership with this guy that looked like El DeBarge, and he dressed like Mayor McCheese, and he also used to be a Crip, and then used to be part is kind of flaky, and then I worked at a Verizon dealership for this guy who I later found out was a heroin addict, and I should have known that he was a heroin addict because he started falling asleep during my orientation. That's a totally separate story. Anyway, I finally get this job at the Sprint store, and I'm really excited because it's like $35,000, and I'm 19 years old, and you can basically live like a god in Baltimore on $30,000 worth of rent. And so I go through training, I go through the interview, I get the job, and it's really, really good. And so if you guys, since we're talking a little bit about race, are familiar with the concept of CP time, culture people time, and so I had to tell myself the night before my first day of work, Rashid, don't be late. All you have to do is wake up on time. And I'm like, all right, Rashid, all right, cool, I got it. So I woke up late. And so I bolted out the house and I walked really, really briskly to the subway, which is like a 15-minute walk from my house. And so it's elevated. So I look back and I see the subway coming and I'm like, shit, that's my train. And so I take off and I'm like, I do the calculations in my head and I take off running to the train station. And so I'm running like black lightning. And so I'm running so fast that I miss the tiniest pebble right on the ground that gets caught between my foot and the ground. I slip, my ankle turns all the way around, and that's my first big power trip. It was a power trip. But I still made it into work. And I was like 9 minutes later, I was still really proud of myself, I like jumped in. And so I got there, and my boss looks at me, he says, you're an idiot, go home. So I go home, I take 2 days off, I get x-rays and bandages and crutches. And so the very next day, 2 days later, I'm sorry, that Thursday, I'm crutching into work, I get on the train, okay, no falls, good to go. I get off the train, and I get off on Baltimore Street. So if you guys are familiar with Baltimore City, or if you aren't rather, let me give you a really, really quick 10-second primer of Baltimore Street. So Baltimore Street, there's a courthouse, there's a police station. On the other end, there are government buildings, and that's where my mom works. And in between the government buildings and the police station, it's like 2 blocks of just like strip clubs, nudie bars, this really good fried chicken joint. But it sells like Hustler in the front. And so, that's just the strip. It's kind of understood. And so I get off where the subway station is. It's right between where the government buildings start and the strip ends. And so I get off and I'm crutching, really proud of myself because I'm making it into work, with a messed up ankle. And so I'm about to cross the street. A car zooms down the street. I back off. My foot gets caught between the street and between the curb, turns it all the way around. And that's my second power trip. So I'm sitting. I should give you guys like a wow. I'm sitting on Baltimore Street with 2 sprained ankles. I can't go anywhere. I'm working for Sprint, but I haven't got my phone yet, so I'm phoneless. And police officers are walking by because again the police station is right down, and they're giving me this really weird look, like, oh wow, somebody should serve and protect this young man. Jeez. Move it along, buddy. And I'm sitting there with like a Sprint shirt, like all shaped up. I'm like, come on. And so it isn't until some women that I later found out because they paid their bills at Sprint with, like these really crisp, really good smelling dollars. I don't know why they smell so good. That they were strippers, and they were the only ones to stop me on the street and really kindly go like, hey, just kind of sitting there, like, what's going on? And so, one of them was kind enough to let me use their phone and call my mom. And actually, that's the end of the story. So that's it. So those are my 2 biggest power trips, and that's how I learned strippers are like the kindest people in Baltimore. Thank you.